Hello. So, I've been getting a lot of questions lately on Fumo making, and so I thought it would be a good idea if I just made a really simple one and documented the process for the sake of showing y'all how this is done. So, let's jump right into it. First, let's show the pattern over here. Sorry, this is a bit amateur. So, this here is a pattern that on the Fumo Discord is referred to as the royalty pattern, because that was the username of the one who drafted it. It is the most accurate to the Ami Ami gift Fumo that I've seen. This pattern is 99% accurate to that. We have the face, the torso, two arms. We have the torso back mirror. Now, what mirror means is that you're going to trace it onto the cloth and then flip it over and trace it opposite and cut both shapes out. That's what mirror means. Two legs, a forehead, heel, neck, back of the head. We've got the butt. Again, this is mirrored. We've got the foot, and we've got the pelvis. That's all the parts. Now, some Fumo have ears and some don't, but the ear is shaped the way you'd think it is, like kind of a C shape, kind of a D shape, you know. You get two of those, you mirror them, you sew them together. It's what you'd think, but some Fumo don't have ears, or have cat ears, etc. That's going to vary from Fumo to Fumo. But I digress. Anyway, so the first step of making any Fumo is you want to take your face piece, and you want to take an embroidery hoop with your skin of choice on it. Now, I'm using felt for this example, but you could use toy knit or fleece or whatever you want to. A note, most cloth comes with a right side and a wrong side. This felt does not. But toy knit, for instance, would. It would have one side which is fuzzy and soft, and it would have one side which is sleek and smooth. The side that's fuzzy and soft would be called the right side, and the wrong side would be the side you're not meant to see, the side that goes inside the doll. So what you want is right side up on the embroidery hoop. And what you do is you put the face onto the embroidery hoop, kind of on the low side near the bottom, and you're going to get a fabric marker. This particular fabric marker can dry from water or from air. It's temporary marker. So you're going to take this off, and you're going to trace around it. Until you have this shape. Now, to get the face on, that will be the next step. Back in a bit. Okay, so what I've done here is I took, to make sure that as much fabric is preserved as possible, I put both the face template and the forehead template onto the embroidery hoop so that we don't waste a whole hoop roll of cloth for, you know, only one piece. We won't be doing anything to this, it's just to conserve fabric. So, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the face on with temporary marker. This particular marker, the blue side erases with wet, the purple side erases with air or wet. It's temporary. So, excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark the middle of the bottom of the chin right about here. If you make any mistakes, you can always erase it and go back. And we're going to measure about an inch from the bottom. Make a mark right there. Now, from there, we're going to draw kind of a straight line here that's an inch wide, and we're going to use that as the basis to make our smile. Just a small arc there. Okay. So, from there, we're gonna, again, up the middle, go up about 1/2 inch, add just like a dot, and left and right, we're gonna go 1/2 inch out on both sides of that dot to make a 1 inch gap. Now, from each of these outer dots, we're gonna go out sideways 1 inch and 1/8. Same with the other eye, 1 inch and 1/8. We're going to make a box this way. We're going to go 1 inch and 1/8. So that's 1 inch and 1/8, this whole box. So we've got 2 boxes. Now what we're going to do is these 2 dots here, we're going to connect them like this. These lines are connected, and from these lines we're going to swoop down and draw a big U, like so. Nice and smooth. There we go. That's the basic shape of the eyes. We're going to extend out these lines just a little bit to make the brow. We're going to draw, starting from the halfway point of the eye, we're just going to draw a line inward on both sides. This is what defines the eyelid. We're going to draw 2 small circles on the upper left corner of both eyes. And finally, we're going to draw the eyebrows. And that's the basic shape of the face. That's the draft. You can do whatever you want with yours. You can make the eyes bigger, farther apart. You know, bring your creativity to it. But if one is curious just how I do it, the proportions I choose to use, this is what I do for my Fumo. All right, we'll move on to the next step. I'll be back in a bit. All right, we've jumped forward in time a little bit. I took the markings we just made here and I embroidered them. Embroidery is kind of a whole other skill on its own, by its own merits, and I don't think I'm the best qualified to teach that. There's all sorts of embroidery lessons on YouTube already, so I'll let you guys figure that one out. But suffice to say, you embroider onto the blue or purple lines we drew on the face. All right, next step. Okay, so for this next part, we're going to do the color of the eyes. I have cut out 2 pieces of brown felt and 2 pieces of white felt for the eyes. What you're going to do is you're going to get some tweezers and you're going to hold it like this. You're going to get some hot glue on the back. Ooh, that's too much. Let me just scrape that off a bit. Here we go. Just get a nice, even, thin coat on the back of the patch. And then, using the tweezers, carefully flip it over and place it in place. Just carefully, just kind of fit it in there. And now we're going to do the same with the other patch. Just pick it up. Apply a thin, gentle layer of glue to the fibers. Turn it over and fit it into place. Smooth it over. Try and make sure that it gets inside the outline. Now we're going to take the glue and we're going to apply just a single drop inside these circles here. Then we're going to take our tweezers. We're going to take the highlights and fit them in. 1 and 2. And from here, we're just going to let it cool down and dry up. And that's basically the face. All right, it's time for some construction. So, we have the pieces for the face here. We've got 2 ears, we've got the chin, we've got the forehead, and what we're going to do is assemble them. What you do is you take the chin and you center it, and you're going to line the edges up here. Wrong sides are facing right sides, I'm sorry, right sides are facing each other so that wrong sides are out. And you're going to just match it up with the edge, pin it in place with your pins, and then just stitch along here. For the forehead, it attaches similar way. Attaches upside down like this. You put a stitch all the way across here, then it flips out. And now the way the ears work is, after this is stitched on, it kind of flips. Actually, let me just do a jump cut. This will be easier to show. Okay, so to attach the ears, we have attached the forehead and the chin here. What you do is you lift up the chin, and right where the chin ends, right here, you're going to take the top of the ear and line it up, right side on right side, ear facing in, and you're going to stitch it right there. Same on the other side. Okay, so we've got the forehead sewed on, and I forgot to mention there's a, there's a dart right here you got to sew up to at the top of the forehead. I forgot to mention that. You just like fold it over, sip it, that's all. We've got the chin attached and the ears attached, like I mentioned, just sewing them to the chin. The next step is the last attachment for the head. We're going to take the back of the head and its mirror counterpart I mentioned earlier. And what we're going to do with these is find the round edge, like this one, it's round here and it's flatter here. Take the round edge, and that matches up to the outside of the head. Again, you're going to take some pins and you're going to secure it, and you're going to line up the edges together. It's going to flow from the tip of the head all the way to this corner of the chin right here. So from here all the way to here, it stitches on here. And the same on the other side. So we've got the face here. It's got the back parts on to create a scalp. It's got ears, chin, and head all attached. And we're just going to put this aside and move on to the torso for now. Alright, so now we're moving on to the torso. What we're going to be doing first is we're going to be taking the back side, there's a side A and side B here and here. We're going to take it and we're going to put wrong sides together. No, right sides together, I'm sorry. Such that it looks right if it's covering like 2/3 of the way here. We're going to stitch up this side right here. These two flat ends, I'm going to lay it here, stitch it together, and we're going to do the same thing over here. And then don't forget to iron your seams. That part, it's going to be really important for this part in particular. Iron your seams. And we'll just jump ahead. Alright, so now we've got side A and B stitched to our torso. What we're going to do here is we're going to take the arm and we're going to make it so that we're going to have the arm facing inward, wrong side out, right sides together. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these ends together, put this little arrow shape right in this corner here, and we're going to stitch up, leaving a little bit left below. Just stitch right up, and right after that's stitched, we're going to meet the other side together and stitch that too. So basically, these two sides are going to be stitched to these two sides in such a way that the arm faces inside, and you're going to repeat that on the other side. Alright, and now we have a stitched together torso. The arms were stitched to each side, and now they're all facing out. And we're going to put the torso aside, and we're going to move on to the hips. Okay, so these are the parts that comprise the hips. What we're going to do is, each of these has a dart that needs to be closed. Like I said before, a dart, you just fold it over, zip it, it's closed, that's it. And we're going to take each of these sides. So this part that is furthest away from, there's one part here that is across from the dart. The part that is furthest away from the dart here, we're going to flip it over. We're going to meet right side with right side on the underwear line here, and we're going to stitch that together, and we're going to do that same on the other side, and also close these darts, then iron our seams. Okay, that's our hips completed. Everything is stitched together. Our seams ironed, and we're going to put this aside, and we're going to move on to the legs. Okay, we're moving on to the legs, and this is where things get a bit tricky from here on in. So, first what we need to do is, we have to take, this part is the shoe. As you can see, it has an outer curve and an inner curve. It's kind of an arc shape. What we're going to do is take the inner arc, curving down, and we are going to match that edge to the bottom edge of the leg here. Now, you're going to need pins to do this because this is curved and this is straight, which means you're going to have to bend this straight line into a curve, like force it into a curve with pins, and then stitch it together. And do that to the other leg too. Okay, here comes the part that, in my opinion, is the hardest part of making a Fumo. If you can pull this off, the rest is smooth sailing. What you do is you take the leg, right side out, and you take this circle, again, right side meeting right side, and the goal is to take this edge and sew it all along this circle to circle, until it meets in the center somewhere. This is fairly difficult to do. Even on a sewing machine, this can be difficult to do. And without a sewing machine, it can be fairly tedious. It is the part that requires the most accuracy, and the circle on a regular size is fairly small, so the stitches have to be fairly compact. So don't worry too much if you fail this the first time. It took me a dozen tries to nail this every time, consistently. So do that for this leg and the other. Alright, when the legs are done, they should look something like this. As you see, it's stitched round and round. It stops about in the middle. Got a good circle going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to temporarily flip these inside out. Like a sock, just reach in and flip it inside out. Like so. And we're gonna we're going to attach these to the hips next. So this is another one of these parts that is a bit tricky. What we're going to do is, so each leg has a part that's rounded, got this rounded tip here, and the other side, which is more flat, more square. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna make right side on right side, just like always. We're going to take the more square notch, and we're going to stitch from here all the way around here and right in the middle of the groin. The round part is going to end up here-ish, and we're going to start here. You're going to need pins in order to do this accurately, I think. And so yeah, it's going to be wrong side up. When it's done, the leg will be facing sort of like this and then come swinging around. You repeat that on both sides, and alright, we'll skip ahead in time a bit. Okay, This is what the legs should look like once stitched to the hips. As you can see, they've been basically forced to follow the curve until they kind of meet in the middle, about here. Sorry for the sloppy camera work there. Still getting used to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the feet out again, inside out. Now that we're done with that part, the whole thing should be inside out now. And we're going to move on to the next step, which is connecting this whole set of hips and legs to the main body. So this next step is somewhat straightforward once you understand what you're doing, but it might be a bit difficult to follow, so follow me carefully. We're going to stitch this to this. And the way it's going to work is, so this part, the bottom of the torso, bottom of the stomach, is going to stitch over here. These parts are going to swing down, and the arm is going to fold in half as they swing down to make this bottom plane. This bottom plane, this plane and this plane, are both going to stitch here and here. So when all three parts are stitched together, you'll have one continuous stitch line, and you'll have two small gaps here because that's where the arms meet, but the arms are not sewn together yet. And so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. The easiest way to do this is to, again, carefully place it using needles and just get it all laid out together, and then run it, and then stitch it together. And, you know, of course, iron your seams. Okay, after all that stitching, we're going to have something like this. As you can see, it's all coming together. We've got an arm here and an arm here. We've got two legs. We've got the underwear. All we need to do next is attach the head. So we'll be moving on to that step next. Alright, so this next part is really straightforward. On our face, we have this edge, right side. We have this edge at the bottom of the back of the head, the hair, the scalp. We've got this edge here. So yeah, we've got three. There's a corner here. Edge, edge, edge. We're going to pair these three edges. Edge, edge, edge to these parts. Pretty simple. We just meet right side with right side and join these three lines to these three lines. There you go. Let's skip ahead a bit. Alright, things are starting to come together here. We've got our head, two arms, two legs. The basic body is mostly stitched together. What we're going to be doing up now is a whole bunch of close-ups. This arm, we're just going to stitch it closed. This gap on the side of the body as well, close it. For the hips, what we're going to do is we're going to take this part, and we're going to fold the leg in half while bringing this white tip to the center. And we're just going to stitch the leg up closed all the way up to the groin. Same on the other side. After that's done, we're going to fold the entire underwear in half and stitch it from here all the way down as well. Then we're going to take both halves of the scalp here, the head, and we're just going to close that up too. Just stitch that shut. And that's about it. You're just kind of closing everything up. Now, you want to leave the back open. This part right here, the back needs to remain open so that you can stuff it. But beyond that, close up all the parts that need to be closed up should be relatively obvious just looking at them. Like, you can tell which parts need to be closed. At least I hope so, otherwise I'm being somewhat presumptuous. Let's skip ahead a bit. Okay, now that we've closed things up, like the arm and the side of the stomach here, stitched up our underwear parts and our legs, everything is basically all sealed up, except for the back here. Sorry, my hand's in the way. The back is left completely open. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this entire doll we've got here so far, and like one giant sock, we're going to turn it inside out. All the arms, legs, head, everything is going to go through that hole. We're just going to flip it all inside out. Let's skip ahead. All right, now that we flipped it inside out, we've almost got ourselves a Fumo. It's starting to look all together. Basically, we've got this side and this side, and what we're going to do is we're gonna basically stuff her. We're going to open up the back here, and using the back, we're going to stuff the head, the legs, and the arms, and leave a little bit of room in the and leave the torso fairly empty. Well, legs, tush, arms, and head, and we're going to leave the chest a little bit empty, and you'll see why in just a sec. Alright, so we've stuffed her up a little bit. We've got the arms nice and squeezable. We've got the legs filled out a bit. We've mostly left the tush and the chest empty though. Head is full though. What we're going to do is, I'm going to take some aluminum doll wire and just kind of twist it into a kind of a just plain skeleton like this. Nothing too complicated, just, you know, length of the legs, length of the arms, and just kind of bend them together. Doesn't need to be too precise. And what we're going to do is we're going to, through the back, we're going to thread the wire through the leg, like through the stuffing throughout the leg. Same with the other leg. We're going to get the arm and the arms, etc. And then after the skeleton's in, we're going to stuff the rest of the tush and the torso on top of it. And let's jump ahead. And there we have it. We have the finished Fumo base. All sealed up, all stuffed, touched up. Removable marker's been removed. It's got its cute little pose. I think she's turning out kind of cute. Alright, so we're about 2/3 done, and I'm gonna wrap this up by just showing a couple more useful things. Like I'll show how to make some hair, a skirt, and maybe a t-shirt, and that should be good. From there on, it's up to you guys how to make your Fumos. Okay, so a quick explanation on the skirt. So, what you're going to do is, you're going to get some measuring tape, and you're going to measure around the waist of your Fumo. I've already measured it. It's 6 inches around. And you're going to measure how long something would have to be to get from the top of the waistline, from the back, all the way to the bottom near the ankle here. And I've measured. It's 3. So what we want is, we want to cut out a rectangle of cloth that is twice the circumference of the waist. So 6 times 2, that's 12 by 3. And I already have a piece right here. That's 12 by 3. What you're going to do is you're going to pinch and fold. You're going to kind of gather it like this until this goes from 12 inches to 6 inches. So basically you're just going to keep pleating it until it reduces by half. Once you have all the pleats in order, you just sew it straight across, locking in those pleats. And then we'll go to the next step. You'll get something like this. It's been pleated, and the thread has stitched it all together to keep it apart. So what you're going to do is you're just going to fold it in half, close the seam here, and then flip it inside out. Alright, we have our simple skirt. We're just going to put it on. So what you do is you pinch the legs together, insert it through the hole, pull the legs and the tush through. It's going to stretch out a little bit. And if we've done all our measurements right, the skirt should fit like a glove. There we go. Just a simple, cute little skirt. Alright, we'll move on to the shirt. Okay, so for the shirt, the process is pretty straightforward. We take out the cloth for our shirt and we cut out the exact same pattern pieces we made the torso out of. The body, the back, and the arms, just as before, except there's going to be a couple differences. First, we're going to take each arm and cut half of it off, making them shorter. And we're going to take the body and we're going to draw a big U here to create a neckline, and we're going to cut it out. Like so. So after we make those small alterations, we're going to assemble it just like we did the body. And I'll be back. Alright, got our t-shirt stitched together from the torso part. So basically all you're going to do is just slip it on one arm, then the other, and then flip around back, and you're going to ladder stitch the shirt up, and then it will be on. I can't really do that with the camera running, so I'll just skip time a bit. Alright, shirt is on. Now, like I said, all you gotta do is turn her around and just ladder stitch up the back. And that's it for the shirt. Lastly, we'll move on to the hair. Okay, so for the hair, a lot of this is just going to come down to your personal preference. You know, there's not really an exact science to it, it's more of an art. But basically, the way I start out with every hairstyle is I measure the circumference of the head. In this case, it's 12 inches around. So we're going to take a little more than half that, 6.5, and we're going to make these shapes where it's 6.5 wide, and we're going to use the face piece from earlier to create the top of the dome. And from there, it's kind of up to you how long you want the hair. This is going to be the back piece, this is the front, this is the bangs. So we've got the bangs, the back, and what we're going to do is we're going to stitch it together and flip it inside out, like usual. Alright, so the hair fits onto the head, basically like a sock once you've sewn it together. As you can see, it's long in back, and it's short in front. So basically all we got to do is just get out our scissors and just style it however we want. Back in a bit. Okay, so hair has been styled. I did make one change though. I lifted up the hair and I glued on an extra stripe of cloth and then styled it on either side to create some forelocks. But aside from that, that is it. And it's very simple, very rudimentary, but we have our Fumo. That's the whole process essentially on a very basic level. I think she turned out cute, no? So, well, there it is. I hope this helps some of y'all out, guys.